Hello, Renato. Good to see you. Hey,
Nice to see you, Jessica, as
hey, how
well.
are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good as well. Thank you. I'm very happy to see you after a year, more or less, right after we started the first implementation. You're just about to renew. So for all the ones that are watching this third episode of Case Studies, Renato is our friend and a customer using our application to integrate Jira and Jira for Kaluza, right?
Yep,
So maybe
that
you
is
can do a
correct.
short intro of yourself and the company and the use case.
So I'm Renato. I'm the IT engineer for Kaluza, and I've been here for about 2 years. And our use case was we had to move from one instance of Jira, where we were sitting under our sister company, to move into our own instance of Jira. And one of the main problems that we had found is we still needed to communicate with our sister company, and we couldn't have them it's sitting in our Jira instance. And this is where I found several applications, but mainly Getint. For me, it was, well, this is easy to implement what I need to do of that two-way communication. And we've implemented it, and it's worked beautifully for the last year. And I've been getting so many more requests to get even more implemented in other parts of the business as well.
Okay, thanks for this one. And can you tell us what Kaluza is doing as a company, just like highlighting the company profile?
So Kaluza is a business-to-business company where we provide an application that will manage companies' electricity and gas, and we provide the application and API tools for these business, and we help them regulate so they can see the electricity coming in and the electricity going out. Same thing for gas in and out, and we are a direct competitor of a company. I don't know if you've heard of Kraken, but we are. This is basically in laying terms what Kaluza does.
Okay, so you work with very big, well-known enterprises, which we can't name, but just to highlight that, yeah, this is a business-critical solution for very big companies with a lot of, let's say, demands and enterprise standards. And so far, it's working well and making everyone happy, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we know about you, we know about the company, and how was the maintenance of this integration along this year? Because I assume there was some changes in scope, some new requests, and how was it? Like, how was it? How did it work?
It it literally became second nature because all it turned out to be because I still manage the applications and I still manage the connection. But what I then request people is just give me the status that you want to sync across. Give me the what you would like to go from one side to the other. Is it going from Kaluza to the third party company? It was just some basic questions that I just needed to ask our users that they then would speak to the third party company. And that was it. It's such an easy process to figure out. And then to implement, it's even easier because all we need is an API key from the customer. And if the customer doesn't feel comfortable with maybe 2, 3 weeks of testing, they can just revoke that API key and it's happy days. There isn't that much effort from the customer side. And it's so easy to just configure it, get it running, do a bit of testing, and implement it. And I've done this now 3 or 4 times in the last year, and I can tell you that it takes me maximum an entire day just to get it configured, tested, and rolled out.
Okay, happy to hear this one. I remember that some time ago I had a conversation with one of our partners. Initially, they started to test another solution. It was Script Runner Connect, the solution which is scripting only. And they said that it took them 14 business days to
Wow.
configure a simple Jira to Jira integration, and they achieved the similar stuff with our solution within like a few hours. Once they understanding, then they started from scratch with one and the other, so they needed to learn it. And now with Getint, it's even simple, even faster because they already know how to use it, right? So this learning curve is also much faster. So this brings me to another question about the whole experience, right? Getint is mostly focusing on the UI. There is a possibility to add scripting, but it's mostly a centralized UI, UI-based solution, low code. In comparison to Exalate, which usually requires Groovy scripting, Script Runner requires scripting. Backbone, as I remember, doesn't have the option to script at all, so it's UI only. So, yeah, when you were comparing the tool, how this like the ease of use in a sense of UI versus scripting, was it a factor? And what do you say about this whole like setting up experience?
I think it was a factor in the back of my mind of, again, where I want to empower the users to self-serve. And if scripting is involved, it means that the team cannot actually do this themselves. It means that they have to learn the scripting, they have to go back to basics and learn how to do things. Whilst with a UI part of it is just a matter of put two and two together. And this was the ease of Getint of just saying, okay, we have one Jira instance and we're going to connect another Jira instance. Here are the issues. Here are the all the files that we need to get it to speak to. These are the comments that needs to go across, and it makes it so much easier and nicer for a standard user to just configure themselves, which is what I'm working on at the moment, is just to show them how it works so they can actually self-serve and they're able to do this themselves as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When we started the conversation, you also said that like after it's more than a year that you're using Getting now. Like
Mhm.
if we count all the testing before getting a proper license. So how is it like after a year? Is the use case exactly the same, or were the like organization convinced it's really nice and they would like to scale? Yeah. So how is it different now from the very first use case that we had a year ago?
So a year ago, we only had one project and one connection that we were working with. And as time developed, people started realizing that this works really, really well. So then I implemented a second one, and that kind of took off even further. And people started really reaching out and saying, I would like to get this implemented for this third party company. And then most recently, about 2 weeks ago, I got someone else from another third party company contacting me saying, we would like to implement this with our system as well. So in terms of scale up, we are really going to be ramping up and adding more and more companies that would just sync back to our Jira instance. And it's really great because it means that our users are in our own world, their users are in their own world, and we can speak to each other and we can make that connection in terms of tickets, in terms of issues. And it's just shows how great the application is, and it just shows how reliable it is, and it's become an application that we need to use day to day. It's we we really really need it, and we really use it heavily on a daily basis.
And I remember that in our initial conversations, one of the factors was also the stability, the uptime, and the security. So how did Getting pass this pretty high requirements? As I remember, they were pretty demanding because of the nature of your work and the company working with like energetic sector and stuff. So can you tell us a bit more about those, like maintenance, uptime, and security? How was it? And how is it?
So I will start with the security side because the security is quite one of the big ones. The security side is it's so it it is very secure because again it goes just via an API key. So if the third party company decides, well, actually I don't trust you anymore, or we're not having that relationship, they just revoke that and everybody's safe. There isn't anything bad going across between the two companies. It's only what we tell it to go across that will go. And in terms of security, this has passed. We have really rigorous security aspects that needs to go through, which it goes through our legal team, it goes via our information security, it goes with everybody in the business, and it passed with flying colors. When we get audited, they ask, how do you communicate with the third party company? And we just put Getint and we say, this is how it works. And they're like, great, that works perfectly. That's exactly what we want to see. It means that we're not going into our third party company's Jira instance. We're not seeing things that we shouldn't be seeing. They're not seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing in our Jira instance. And that is absolutely great. And stability, honestly, it's been really, really stable. I have no qualms whatsoever with that. Uh, we rely on Jira heavily, and Jira has 99.99% uptime and no issues whatsoever in that aspect of it as well. It's been running, haven't had any issues, and really happy with the way it's working. And I forgot what was the third question. Sorry.
It was about the uptime, this security, and overall maintenance, the whole experience with the maintenance, right? Because we are doing updates, obviously.
Mhm.
Every 2 weeks there is an update. But I think it was like, it's not causing any harm. It's not, it's simply easy to use. Nothing stops. Everything is pretty smooth, right?
Yep, everything is pretty smooth, and we do see the updates that you are implementing, and it makes it even better because there are things that we were like, oh, that wasn't there before. That's great. This is going to help us even further. And when you do put in those updates, we don't even notice that it's changed anything. It hasn't broken anything, which says that what you're doing is right. You're doing it in a way that it's not disturbing us, the customer, and it's not breaking our connection, which is absolutely great.
So yeah, Jira to Jira integrations, they considered usually pretty simple compared to, let's say, Jira ServiceNow or Jira DevOps, because you're integrating almost the same platforms. When
Mhm.
you're integrating Jira ServiceNow, those are different platforms, different workflows, different type of fields, and so on and so on. But when like Jira compared to another Jira instance also can be very different, right? It's not just every Jira is the same. So if you can share some experience how to prepare both Jiras to be able to integrate them, right? How was the process looking when like preparing the fields or this discussing the scope? Yeah, if you can share some experience with others how to make it work on the very first
Yeah.
step, preparation.
So the way that I do is I have a conversation with both parties. So I have a conversation with our internal Kaluza person that is requesting this, but at the same time, I ask if we can involve the client as well at the same time on this call, because I can assume what their side is like, but I that would be wrong of me. So I prefer to get a first instance from that person to tell me what are their fields like, what are the issue types like, what are their comments like, how do they work on a day to day on that specific project? Because every part of the business uses Jira completely differently. And from that conversation, I start making notes of, okay, these are the fields that you use. Okay, which fields should we put on our side of Jira? And based on that, that's when I will start pairing the two together, and I will give them also some notice of stuff that I do know that goes across and stuff that don't necessarily go across, because at the end of the day, for example, their users will not show up in our Jira instance, and that's something that I also make them aware because I have a little bit of that experience with it. And it's a great conversation because I then have everything that I need in terms of the fields and what issues are going to come across, and do we want the comments, do we want the internal comments to come across, do we want this to go across? And that helps because then both parties realize, okay, this is what it's going to look like. I would then put into a test uh, effect just so they can see what it looks like, because I don't like to put anything live just before that testing part of it. I'll give them a bit of time just so they can come back to me and say, well, actually, that looks really good, or let's add a little bit more fields, or let's add less fields. And once they're happy, I would then put that in live, and I will create a ticket as well so we can all see what it looks like. And 99.9% of the time, it's all been, well, this looks great. Everything just works. Thank you. And everybody's happy.
That's the issue because you mentioned from the very beginning you're involving the customer, and it's like the project with you and them. You both have values because you're integrating together. Everyone needs this integration to happen, right? So there has to be a leader, which is you in this particular integration. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it involves the customer because a certain field needs to be created in order to make the proper mapping. But once the customer understands the value, I guess it's easy to manage them and manage the whole integration project, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that a product is a one thing of the story. Another thing is simply partnering with a company. And I believe, I remember when we started like testing the product with you, we had some calls, then you had some experience with support. I guess we had some adjustments to do as well. I don't remember properly which of what exactly was that, but I remember we had like some calls and the whole experience with the support team. So can you tell me how was it from your perspective? You like the product, but then it's the company behind, right? The
Mm-hmm.
people, the support, and all this stuff.
So for me, I've always come from a support background, and what I saw speaking with yourself and speaking even with your support team is you put the customer first. And we had when we had initial issues of how do we figure this out, or how do we work with Getint, because in the beginning, I just took Getint as an application and I didn't realize what it actually could do. And this is where yourself and your team helped me understand how it worked. And being able to contact your support team, and they were like, oh, okay, this is how you can actually do it. Oh, you can't do it this way. You have to try it in a slightly different way. And the response was actually very, very good, because it was done in a timely manner. It was done great. And all the issues that we had to begin with, they were all resolved, because you also said, let's get on a call. Let's see if we can try and resolve this. And that for me was kind of like, wow, Get In is not just about the product, it's also about the customer service side, which has shown to me, even in our year of partnership, it's carried on. It wasn't just a front. It was, any issues that you have, just ask us. Even yourself, you're available even on just emails, which it is absolutely great, because you reply to messages. And for a company, it's extremely rare for somebody like yourself to be replying to emails, and that makes me feel like a value customer. And for me, it's absolutely great to see that.
So if you were to describe Getint with like to someone that don't even know what it does and what's the value behind, yeah, how would you explain it?
I think the way that I would explain Get Int, and this is the way that I have been explaining it, is if you want to be in control of the data and you want to be able to liaise with a third-party company, Get Int is an application that will build that bridge between two companies, and it will help you to connect with, if you are moving tickets over, or if you are trying to communicate with that company without getting them to be in your universe, this is the best way to do it. And the way that I've also said, like I said, Getint is the bridge between two companies and two different systems. I know that we're currently using Jira to Jira, but in the very near future, I will be connecting Jira to another company, which is going to be quite interesting for me to see how that role pans out. Because for me, it's going to be a new experience of connecting Jira to potentially ServiceNow.
hmm So it's nice because you really put this value and this story in the context of a business value, not really like the technical side. And this is what I believe as well, right? It's not just creating a very good technical product, but in the very first place, it needs to serve like a business person, like a business use case, a real value, and then it's like the technicals that really serve the purpose of some business need, right? That has to come first. So yeah, that's how I usually try to explain it as well. So yes, this bridging stuff really hits me. It's yeah. So I think my last question would be, so if somebody would now just start their journey, like the use case Jira integration, they would start with all three tools. And of course, you can compare the number of installations, the number of reviews, what kind of budgets do they have. But overall, they would start with all this free stuff. What are the things that you believe they should mm, test, and why back then you believed that Getint was better than Exalate and the backbone when it comes to Jira integration?
I think at the end of the day, you don't want to be the sole person again responsible for an application because we all have a lot of things to do in a business. If you can find an application that is easy to use, that anybody can just look at it, see it, understand how it works, I think this is where Getint wins out of everybody else. And I will keep saying that it's so easy to just look at it and pick up and be like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is how I connect the two together. And it just, the thing is that it just works. I can't say anything other than it just works because, as I mentioned, Exhalate worked, but in a very painful way. Backbone did not work, so I just fully unscrapped that one. And Getint was the only one that worked. And for me, it was like, wow, it works. This is great. And I know sounds very strange, but from somebody that just wants something to from go from A to B, to see that, it was like, yes, yes, that's exactly what I want. And yes, you can read all the reviews, you can see all the business cases in the world, but until you get your hands on the Get-in application and you actually test it out fully for yourself, that's where you start appreciating of how well the product is built, how good it works. And building that bridge between the two companies just is absolutely great. I think that you have to get your hands on it. You have to test it out. You have to play around with it. And you have this is one of the great things also that I like about your company is that you have so many great articles as well to explain this is how you can do this is how you can do that. So you don't even necessarily need to contact your support team. You can also see your articles that just explain of this is how you can do A, B, and C. This is how you get started. And if if I go back 12 months ago and I have the knowledge that I have of Get It now, I wouldn't have looked at the other two because it really, there is no other application like yours in the market. There isn't anything out there that can do this in a way that is just perfection, that it just works. And I think that Getint is is here to stay, and it just is an application that is going to blow everybody else out of the water because, again, there is no other application that can do this.
Thank you for the kind words. Like implementation like this makes us happy. It really like give us wings to grow. Yeah, currently we are the fastest growing Jira integration platform. I believe it's exactly for a reason like you mentioned. I would like to keep it this way, and I would like to keep working with you for many years to come. Yeah, thank you, Renato. Thank you for all the kind words, and thank you for sharing your experience.
No, thank you. And thank you for everything that you've done for us in the last year, because this is the other thing that even though you, like I said, you replied on emails, you've helped us with support. For you, it may have just been like, oh, I'll just do a quick reply to my customer. But from my side, it was very much like, wow, Jessica has actually replied to me with giving me an answer and saying, let's get on a call. Let's speak together about this. Again, as a customer, having that connection with you is very much like, wow, he cares about us as a company and he cares that his product works. And that for me is just the best thing in the world. And it's the best feeling as a customer as well. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's about putting the SLA to the right context. Everyone is like looking, so what's the time for the first response? But is it really the metric you should be like looking at? I believe that if you will get a very bad first response fast, does it really matter? Maybe it's better to have like a partner that will really give you a meaningful answer in a pretty short time. And there's a process for scaling stuff. So it's an email whenever we can, just to give you an answer pretty fast. And whenever there is a need for call, sure, let's find the proper time to make a call, right? So just have this process in a way that you shouldn't be blocked by the support, right? So whenever
yeah,
there is a need or just a short answer provided by an email, let's just do it, right? And for me, this is all about building friendships. Like we started, like it was like then we had like a really nice conversations during the whole process, not just about the simple like technical issues, right? We were just like working for this project. We both wanted it to succeed. So yeah, I believe this is like building relations, and then the business will follow, right?
exactly.
Thank you, Renato. Thank you again.
No, thank you.